Picture this! Two martial arts legends from different worlds colliding in what would become the most explosive East meets West showdown ever witnessed. The anticipation was electric. The stakes were personal. When whispers first emerged that Jackie Chan and Don the Dragon Wilson would finally face off, the martial arts underground went into overdrive. This wasn't just another exhibition match. This was the ultimate test between Hong Kong cinema kung fu and American tournament kickboxing dominance. The backstory had been building for years. Chan, the acrobatic kung fu superstar who'd conquered Hollywood, had always been questioned about his real fighting ability beyond choreographed movie scenes. Wilson, the undefeated kickboxing champion with 11 world titles, had openly wondered if movie martial artists could survive against real fighters. Their verbal sparring had reached a boiling point when Chan made comments about real martial artists versus sport fighters during a press tour. Wilson's response was swift and brutal. "Put your money where your mouth is, movie star." The fight was set for a neutral venue, Las Vegas, 1995. Two completely different fighting philosophies would finally collide under the bright lights. When Chan stepped into the arena, you could feel the curiosity radiating from the crowd. Here was a man who'd made millions believe in the beauty of martial arts through cinema. But tonight, the cameras weren't rolling and the stunts weren't choreographed. Chan's strengths were unlike anything Wilson had faced in traditional kickboxing. His movement was pure poetry, fluid, unpredictable, and rooted in authentic kung fu training that began when he was just 7 years old. This wasn't some actor playing pretend. Chan had spent decades perfecting his craft under the brutal training regimen of the China Drama Academy. His adaptability was legendary. Chan could shift between fighting styles mid-combination, flowing from Wing Chun trapping to Northern Shaolin kicks to drunken boxing evasions. He was a master of distance and timing, able to create openings where none existed through sheer creativity. But here's where it got interesting. Chan's movie background created unique vulnerabilities. His instincts were trained for choreographed sequences where safety was paramount. Real combat demanded a different kind of aggression, a willingness to inflict and absorb damage that went against his performer's instincts. Chan's conditioning, while excellent for film work, hadn't been tested against full contact punishment. His techniques, though beautiful and effective in controlled environments, might not translate to the brutal reality of facing an elite combat athlete. Wilson entered like a man possessed. At 6'1" with the lean, dangerous build of a pure fighter, he represented American kickboxing at its absolute peak. This wasn't just another tournament fighter, this was an undefeated world champion who'd built his reputation by systematically dismantling everyone put in front of him. Wilson's strengths were terrifying in their simplicity. His left kick was a weapon of mass destruction, a technique so refined and powerful that it had ended careers. His boxing was crisp and economical, honed through thousands of hours against world-class opponents who were trying to knock his head off. The man's ring IQ was off the charts. Wilson could read opponents like an open book, adjusting his strategy mid-fight based on what he saw. His experience against diverse fighting styles gave him a massive advantage in adapting to Chan's unorthodox approach. Most importantly, Wilson possessed something Chan had never truly faced: the killer instinct of a pure combat athlete. This was a man who stepped into rings knowing that his opponent's sole purpose was to hurt him, and he'd learned to thrive in that environment. But Wilson had his own challenges to overcome.
His traditional kickboxing background meant he'd never faced anything like Chan's creative, flowing style. His techniques, while devastating, followed predictable patterns that a creative opponent might exploit.
When the opening bell rang, Chan immediately did something unexpected. He smiled. That famous Jackie Chan grin that had charmed millions of moviegoers was now being deployed as psychological warfare against one of the world's most feared fighters. Chan's movement was mesmerizing. He bounced and swayed, his hands flowing in circular patterns that seemed more like a dance than preparation for violence. Wilson, true to his methodical nature, began stalking forward, measuring distance and timing. The first real exchange came 2 minutes in. Chan threw a spinning back fist that Wilson had never seen in competition, a technique that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. Wilson slipped it beautifully, but Chan's follow-up was already in motion, a low sweeping kick that forced Wilson to jump, immediately followed by a rising punch toward Wilson's exposed midsection. Wilson's response was pure professional instinct. He caught Chan's punch on his elbow, stepped inside, and unleashed that legendary left kick toward Chan's ribs. But Chan wasn't there anymore. He'd flowed backward like water, that movie star smile never leaving his face. What unfolded over the next several rounds was a fascinating chess match. Wilson quickly realized that his traditional combinations weren't going to work against Chan's unorthodox movement patterns. Every time he thought he had Chan figured out, the Hong Kong star would shift into a completely different style. But Wilson was adapting too. His vast experience began paying dividends as he started recognizing patterns in Chan's seemingly random movements. More importantly, Wilson's relentless pressure was forcing Chan into exchanges where pure fighting instinct mattered more than creativity. The turning point came in the 4th round. Chan attempted one of his signature combination attacks, a flowing sequence that involved 3 different levels and 4 different striking surfaces. It was beautiful, technical, and utterly mesmerizing to watch. It was also exactly the opening Wilson had been waiting for. As Chan's combination reached its crescendo, Wilson did something that shocked everyone in attendance. Instead of trying to counter or defend, he simply stepped forward into Chan's attack, absorbing a glancing blow to land his own devastating right cross. For the first time in the fight, Chan looked genuinely hurt. The movie star's footwork, so fluid moments before, suddenly seemed less crisp. Wilson had found the answer to Chan's puzzle, overwhelming pressure that didn't allow time for creative solutions. What followed was Wilson systematically imposing his will on the fight. His kicks found their mark with increasing frequency. His boxing combinations, simple but devastatingly effective, began breaking down Chan's defense. Chan showed incredible heart, continuing to throw techniques that belonged in a martial arts museum. But sport had its own brutal logic, and Wilson was writing that story with his fists and feet. The final rounds revealed the brutal truth. Wilson's left kick, perfected over hundreds of fights, began landing with devastating regularity. Each impact drained Chan's legendary energy reserves. Yet Chan never surrendered, continuing to attempt techniques that defied logic, his creativity burning bright even as his body faltered. When the bell rang, both warriors embraced with genuine respect. They had created something unique in martial arts history. Don the Dragon won by unanimous decision. His victory came through neutralizing Chan's greatest weapon, unpredictability, with relentless pressure and superior fight IQ. Wilson's triumph proved that while artistry has its place, there's no substitute for ring-tested brutality.
his undefeated record remained intact because he understood fighting's fundamental truth: imposing your will on someone trying to destroy you. Chan's performance earned something more valuable than victory: the fighting community's respect. He proved his skills weren't movie magic, but decades of legitimate training. Both left as legends, but only Wilson raised his hand. The Dragon conquered the movie star while transforming Chan from entertainer to respected martial artist. This fight answered the lingering question: what happens when artistry meets athleticism, cinema meets sport, East meets West through honest combat?